think that will demonstrate within our generation. So first, I want to thank you all the parents and you bring kids. And second, we want to appreciate our Leadership Foundation CEO, Jim, and in her busy schedule, and come to Atlanta to support us. And so that's I want to, first I want to introduce all Atlanta chapter, all the writers, so you can have all the that come from, all the writers. So all the writers that have their own job, their business, and so this is just this is a contribution for society, and they contribute time, effort, and also financially give support. So that's why I wanted to come here to give recognition for all of them, and we have few advisors without time, so they can come. And so just want to give them a big applause. If you're interested to support this organization and to do something for the community, feel free to talk to me. And we want to promote, especially some of wonderful program from Leadership Foundation. It's for internship, right? And it's incredible. That's why we're able to spread all the information to our next generation, right? So thank you very much, and thank you for your hard work. Thank you. Students, and I think we're lucky this year have they have been saved by the Leadership Foundation. So they did an intern in the DC, and they represented State Georgia. So I want to come here to share their experience and before we bring the two key speakers. And let's welcome to the Morgan and Molina.
Hello again. I'm Melinda. I am at the University of Chicago studying economics and computer science. So I guess what I asked myself this summer was, why am I in DC? And especially because I was with the Human Health Services. I think a lot of the reason why I decided to choose the International Leadership Foundation over other experiences or opportunities was because I really didn't know what was going on in the government. I really didn't know how it operated or just like what it was about. I didn't know. And DC was also a new city, so I think I really wanted to take the opportunity to just gain exposure in an industry that I figured I wouldn't really have an opportunity to go into later on, and just broaden my horizon and be able to network with a different group of people than I normally would associate at school. And so this summer I was placed with the Office of Minority Health and Resource Center, which again is under Human Health Services, and I was with the Capacity Building Division, which works with community-based organizations to build up their resources and just help them grow as an organization so that they can better serve their community. And under the mission of the Office of Minority Health, they are working to eliminate the health disparities within minority races and ethnic groups. So when I got there, I was tasked with working with minority-serving institutions, which I was quite confused about because that has to do with education. But what I learned this summer was that there's just so much overlap between the government agencies and organizations. There's so many partnerships and collaborations, and that's truly what allows a project to get done. Because I had a huge misconception about what the summer was going to be like. I expected to be in DC, close to the Capitol, in a huge office with hundreds of people, but it turns out my office was in Maryland, which is actually about an hour commute from where I lived. So the commute every day, I was like, okay, that's far. And so I was like, okay, must be a big office. They have more space in the suburbs of Maryland, but it turns out the entire Office of Minority Health and Research Center, which again is a national organization, there was no more than 15 people, and my division had a total of 4 full-time staff. So I was like, okay, this is not what I expected. But I think that a lot more unexpected things came out of the summer. These small structure of the organization allowed me to see the transparency between the different layers of the office and also the larger agency that it operates under, to see the communications and who is reporting to who. So it really gave me a sense of what it's like to work with a federal agency. And also, my office was a unique experience because it was actually a private contractor that was working with the federal government. So I think I was fortunate enough to see the interaction between the private sector and the federal government. And as a bridge, the office serves to connect the public to the federal government, to the organizations, and I was able to work on programs that would build up the workforce development, primarily in a pilot for the Minority Serving Institution project, which was going to launch in 2015, but they wanted to have a targeted, small-scale trial run, if you could say it that way, first, just to work with a group of people and build up the workforce development in Puerto Rico. But I think one of the things I also realized this summer was the crucial role of communication. The project ended up being canceled. It was either because of the communication between the larger office or just like internal politics, but something wasn't right. So half of my internship might have been focused on that, but fortunately I was able to also be a part of a existing program that worked with community-based organizations for grant writing, their resource development, and I was able to actually travel to Denver, Colorado, and work with a group of 20 people who wanted to start their own organizations, and we had them create their kind of a make-believe organization there to have them walk them through what it meant to have a vision and carry it out. And it turns out, as a result of the training, the people there actually started their own, are in the process of starting the organizations that they created during the training. They were in the process of working with other organizations or had other ones, but the groups that were there decided to continue to work as a group and work for the causes that they felt were important to them. and those included creating an Islamic center and also creating a center to help African refugee immigrants with the accumulation or assimilation into the US culture. So the International Leadership Foundation provided me with a great experience with the internship, but it also provided me a network of wonderful fellows that were also a part of the program. And these are people that I probably would have never been able to meet otherwise. And they come from such diverse backgrounds that it's truly been a blessing to be able to communicate with them and also just learn from their experiences as well. And yeah, thank you for your time.
Hey guys, my name is Norman Chang. I'll be a senior at Furman University studying accounting. And this summer I had this opportunity to intern at NASA. Being an accounting major, I didn't do anything like with rockets or anything. I was actually part of their quality assurance division. What they do is basically like an internal audit, so they ensure like the accuracy and the quality of their financial statements. And I didn't really have any big projects. I kind of did like daily tasks and like whatever my coworkers needed of me. So I guess like with the internship, it'll vary from person to person. So I still talk about what I learned leadership-wise. I'm like naturally a pretty shy person, so it's good for me to be forced to interact and like form relationships with my coworkers and with my supervisors, and just like be part of like a big business environment. In the past 2 summers, I was part of like a small accounting office, so like I worked with like two or three people at a time. So just being like in a big office was like really like eye-opening experience. Just like being able to just talk to people, like learn people's names, and just being able to just like interact in a positive manner. So I guess as a whole in DC, just being by myself, living on my own, like finding my own food to eat, and deciding, like kind of like college, deciding like when to go to bed and stuff is really like really helped me to mature as an individual. So that's like one of the biggest things, just living on your own. And the ILF really gives you, I guess, a good opportunity to network with. I guess like might sound a little bit cliche, but like the future leaders of the world. Like I was able to go to like seminars, different like happy hours where other really intelligent interns were at. So being able to like network, form relationships with people is really crucial. I think that's the biggest thing that ILF allowed me to do, because I know some of the other interns, like they would have a lot of them would have like a lot of work to do. Some of them would have like no work to do. So it really like kind of varies on your individual internship. But being in DC is like it's a constant. You know what you're getting. Like I mean, it's like one of the like busiest cities in the world in terms of like politics and stuff. So if you're going in like public sector or anything like that, it's definitely just like a really good experience. And I think, but one of the guys, I think he's building relationships. Like one of the guys I met, his name is Tara Rakra. I think over the 7 weeks I was in DC, we became brothers. And actually, like when we go to, I'll be visiting California in November, so I'll be meeting up with him again. But just like forming just long-term relationships and just building connections with like just great, intelligent people is definitely what the ILF allows you to do. And I see a lot of young people in here, so if you have the opportunity to apply for the ILF, I definitely encourage you to do so, because it'll be a life-changing experience. Thanks.
And now I'd like to invite our first keynote speaker, Mr. Shu Kai. Mr. Shu Kai is the founder and CEO of Hot Sauce Technologies, a company that produces various management and automation systems for hospitality, retail, fashion, and legal industries. Prior to Hot Sauce, Kai co-founded Hip Ventures, a venture capital consulting firm where he mentors numerous early-stage technology companies across various industries. Kai began his professional career in finance at PricewaterhouseCoopers in the corporate finance group. Kai received his BA from Emory University and his MBA from Georgia State University. So please welcome Kai Xu.
Stand on this side of the podium. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I know it's a lazy afternoon, and I notice all of you have nice, comfortable chairs, so I'll try to make this as entertaining as possible so we don't have people falling asleep. But, I really am thrilled to have the opportunity today to talk to you about leadership. Absolutely essential in today's, ever-changing world. But, there's obviously quite a few different reasons why leadership is important in our society and for every one of us. But before we get into these grandiose ideas and grandiose reasons of why it's important, let's just talk about for individuals, for each one of us. Now, I know there are a lot of high school and college students here. How many of you here are high school students, high school or middle school? Okay, got quite a few. And how many college students do we have here? That I think pretty much sums up the room. Obviously for you guys right now, it's at a very basic level. It's important because, for those of you in high school, I'm sure you're trying to do a lot of different activities, things like that, because why? Well, the most practical reason is because the colleges are looking for that, right? For your college application. They want to know what leadership roles have you been involved in. For those of you that are in college, that's important right now for you, and you're involved in all kinds of organizations because that's what the employers are looking for. So whether it's grad school, whether it's employers, that's what they're looking for in terms of what leadership capacities have you served. Well, hopefully I can shed a little light on some of my experiences and my, or some of the things that I feel are important as leaders. But before we jump into that, I guess I'll give you a little snapshot of my history or my background, if you will. So I grew up in Statesboro, Georgia, small southern town, and like every good little boy in Statesboro, you're expected to play football. So I grew up playing football in high school. I played quarterback for the high school team. And so that was my first experience kind of in a leadership role. So my first year as a starter, we ended up being number 2 in the region. So not too bad, right? I mean, it's okay. We came in runner-up. The only problem with that is, for the last 5 years, we were always number 1. So that was my first taste, first sour taste as a leader for really reflecting and not thinking about and thinking about have I felt the group I was working with. Fast forward to a few more years to college. I went to Emory, just down the street, and when I went to college, like every typical Asian boy, I was expected to either be a doctor, a lawyer, or probably some career that makes a lot of money, right? Does that sound familiar to anybody here? So I decided to go into law, or I thought I wanted to go into law. My father was a law professor, and it just seemed like the natural thing to do. And while I was at Emory, I was actually the joined the Pre-Law Association, and in my senior year, I became the president of the Pre-Law Society. So that was another taste of leadership in a leadership role. Unfortunately, I did not end up going to law school. After 3 years at Emory, I decided, you know what, that's just not what I wanted to do. So you can imagine walking up to Chinese parents and telling them, yeah, mom and dad, that's not really what I want to do. But you know, we worked through it, overcame that, and ended up in business. I started off in investment banking. And for those of you, especially in college now, looking at all the different technology companies, things like that, wanting to become an entrepreneur, I did start off in investment banking, and you know, in those days, every investment banker wants to grow up to be a venture capitalist. So what ended up happening was, after a few years in iBanking, I left at that point and actually convinced 3 of my colleagues to join me, and we started our own venture capital fund. I think that was really the first time in my life where I kind of realized what it takes, you know, what it's like to be a leader, and not only that, but that leadership is about responsibility. I remember, you know, we put in our resignation, we started our new office, and about a week after we started, I sat there one day and I said, wow, how am I going to make sure that these guys, you know, that they get paid? How do I make sure that you know, that we're successful? So that was, you know, something that really, for the first time in my life, I felt like, wow, you know, this is what being a leader is about. And of course, fast forward a few more years, and at some point, I think everybody in finance gets the itch to become an entrepreneur, to start their own company. And as you guys heard in the introduction, I joined Hot Sauce Technologies, and really every day has since then has been a fun challenge in terms of facing a lot of leadership roles and decisions and things like that. So that's a little bit about me, but let's come back to the topic that we're talking about in terms of leadership. Let's start with the big picture. You know, I think ever since humans first banded together, and depending on which version of history, Western history, they'll probably say in the plains of you know, Africa, for Chinese probably, you know, Beijing Ren, right, Peking man. Ever since you had, you know, cavemen started hunting, gathering together, you know, teams and groups have been very important. You know, everything has been done through teams and groups. Teams win or lose. Companies succeed and fail. And really, nations and empires will rise and fall. And really, at the heart of everything, and what makes it crucial is leadership. Right? It's the leaders that decide and make a difference in terms of the success and failure of these groups, no matter how big or how small. To survive and thrive, every organization, to me, must competently do 3 things. 2 of them actually are relatively easy. So as an organization, number 1 is strategy. Right? As a group, you got to know what it is that we're trying to do. You know, essentially have a game plan. Right? So that's the first part, and that's pretty easy to identify. Number 2, once we have a game plan, what's next? Well, we got to do it. Let's execute it. So the execution is the second part. That's very important. Right? So those are 2 parts, 2 big pieces of the puzzle. But there's one thing still missing. Right? Because, you know, we've got the game plan, we've got the execution. Does that, you know, things magically happen? How often does that happen in real life? We have a game plan, all right, a bunch of guys, let's go do it now. Does that sound like it's usually is what happens in the real world? Probably not, right? The third key component, of course, is leadership. Someone has to, you know, a group has to drive the vision and make it happen. However, However, just having leadership itself is not the key to everything, right? And certainly, when it comes to leadership, I think a lot of times there's different thoughts, different views of what leadership is like. Everybody's got their own views, but I think a lot of times because of media, because of things we see on TV, I think leadership a lot of times we interpret it the wrong way, right? To me, at the most basic level, we need to distinguish between dominance and leadership. In our mind, a lot of times leadership is the guy that is going to pound the fist and tell you what to do. To me, that's not a leader. Rather, over the years, in my various roles, this is what I feel really leadership is all about. But before we jump into that, let me ask the question. What makes a leader? What is leadership? Now, I know Julian asked that question earlier, so thank you for stealing my thunder. But what is a leader? What makes someone a leader? Is it someone that's popular? For those of you in school right now, there's no right or wrong answer. So who thinks it's someone that's popular, that everybody likes? Is it someone that everyone is afraid to disappoint? So they're going to do what they say. Who thinks that's a leader? Got a few who thinks that. Is it appointed? You're a leader. You're now this position. You have that title. Does that make you the leader? Okay. And it is an age. Especially for us Asian Americans, age means a lot, right? Someone who's older than you, so I have to look up to you. Is age what makes you a leader? Who thinks that? Okay, a few people. Well, let's look at, let's go to academic reference. Webster Dictionary defines leadership as the quality of character and personality giving a person the ability to gain the confidence of and lead others. What does that sound like to everybody? I'm looking for answers. What does it sound like in terms of leadership? What is leadership sound like to you based on this definition? I don't know about you guys, but it sounds to me like leadership is a responsibility. Does that anybody kind of feel like that definition makes it sound like it's responsibility? Let me see a raise of hands who thinks that. Good. So leadership, it seems like it's not just about, hey, I'm the most popular, I'm someone that can command and tell others what to do. Leadership is a responsibility. It is about having the confidence, having an honor of someone, of a group of people, recognizing you as the person they go to for confidence and for guidance. So the key question then becomes, what are some of the qualities of a person that really causes others to trust him, right? To place that confidence in him. Put another way, whether it's in the ages ago in the plains of Africa, a bunch of cavemen hunting for animals, whether it's the military, whether it's the corporate, or for a lot of you guys, whether it's in school organizations, what are the characteristics that make someone a leader and defines leadership? Well, I like to think there are a few. First, I think people look for integrity, right? What is involved with that? Trust. We must always hold ourselves to the highest standard, so that people, if someone's going to follow you, they need to know that I can trust you. What you say, I can really just take that to the bank, right? Number two, competence. And really, that's what you guys are doing right now, going to school, having your parents on your backs every day, learning different subjects, because you got to know what you're talking about. You don't always have to be the person that knows the most in the room, but you've got to be able to talk, competently about the subjects that you're leading people on. And I know earlier someone said vision was the answer. And that goes, I think, right along with that, right? Because to understand the subject or understand the group or the industry that you're leading allows you to be able to formulate those visions. Part of competence to me is also not being afraid. Now, how many guys or how many people here have been involved in an organization where you saw there was a leader, and that leader was, for lack of a better term, afraid that someone else will come in that's going to be smarter or knows more, it's going to challenge their leadership? How many people have been in organizations like that and seen that happen? Most of you have. To me, part of being a good leader is knowing how to utilize people who know more than you, who's better than you, so that you can build a better group together. In fact, as we're standing here in UPS headquarters today, it reminds me one of my best colleagues, Hal Davis, which we recruited 8 years ago into our company. His father is Scott Davis, who's the CEO of UPS here. One of the best colleagues I've ever worked with, very smart guy, and we recruited him because we wanted those things. We wanted someone who knows more than us or more than me in certain subjects. And then, of course, there's number 3 is a leader must have empathy, and I think that's very important. I think a lot of people often forget about that. Empathy, really, what it comes down to is caring for the people that you're leading, right? Because a lot of times, I think in America, we have a view of leadership as someone who's strong, who's looking ahead, and everybody's going to follow him. But if you don't care about the people that you're leading, why should they care about you? Why should they care about following you? And why should they have confidence in you? Right? So I think that's the third piece of the puzzle to me. So I think so far so good, right? I mean, these things make sense, I think, to everybody, right? I'm seeing a lot of nods here. But I'm sure a lot of you are still thinking, there seems to be something else that's missing. These things make a good leader, but what's the last piece of the puzzle? It seems like there's something that's just not right. Well, I'll share a little experience that I've had the last 2 years within my company, and I'll have a little test question after that for everybody, and you guys can tell me what the last piece of the puzzle is. 2 years ago, we decided to do a big revamp in our company, in our industry. Our industry is changing. More and more competitors, and through the natural course of having more competitors, everybody's market share is going to shrink. So we decided, you know what? We're going to start moving into some other industries as well, other complementary industries that we're going to go into. And so for probably 6 to 9 months, myself and a few others in the company, we started planning and doing a lot of different things. And in the meantime, our industry was getting more and more competitive. To the point where we started to see a few of our key people start to look at other positions in other companies and other fields. So we're sitting here, we're working away. Okay, we're planning our big future. This is we're going to this is the roadmap for us going forward. But in the meantime, we've had guys that are like, well, what's going on here? What's the game plan going forward? And so as a result, as a failure of my leadership, we ended up losing 2 of our key people. Well, we lost one key person. Well, the other one we were able to save and convince him to stay. But we ended up, almost losing 2 people. So the test question is, well, what's the 4th component? Where was the failure there? I'm sorry? I think I heard it. Communication, right? Doesn't it sound like, as management, we didn't do a good job letting our people know where we're going. We talked earlier about having a game plan. We talked about execution. We talked about all these other things of a company. And we talked about all the different characteristics of leadership. But what's most important also is what? Is letting the people that you work with, letting them know why it is that you deserve their confidence, why it is that you deserve for them to follow you. Because with every leader, there are followers. Right? Leadership is not, like I said early on, it's a responsibility. It's not about I'm the leader and you're supposed to do what I say. Leadership is about having people entrust their confidence in you and saying, you know what, I make the choice to follow you. And when you're missing the communication component of it, that's a big problem. So, having said that, I think to me, it's a good transition into our next speaker, which, from my understanding, is on communication. So, I hope you appreciate how I set that up for you. But thank you very much for having me here today.
I really want to praise Kai and want to give the leadership appreciation and can continue Kai come from.